Hello and a very good morning to all our viewers out there. You're watching the Morning News Show and I'm Sriya Kundu here to take you through all the top stories of the day over the next 1 hour from across the nation and around the world. And well, we are beginning this segment with some breaking news. Well, today Prime Minister Modi is holding bilateral meetings with the Australian counterpart Anthony Albanese. And the focus is expected to be on bilateral trade, people-to-people exchange, boosting regional cooperation and more. Well, we have live shots coming in from the ground where we can see the ongoing bilateral meeting that is taking place between the two prime ministers. And yes, a lot is written on these bilateral talks. A lot is expected from these bilateral talks. I mean, yesterday, if we look at what Prime Minister Modi said in his address at Sydney, he was talking about how India and Australia relationship earlier used to be based on the 3 C's, which is Commonwealth, cricket and curry. And eventually it became the 3 D's, which is democracy, diaspora and dosti. And now it's come to be looking forward towards 3 E's, wherein we have energy, economy and education. Well, we have our reporter Abhishek Jha joining us on this broadcast to take this further. And wherein, Abhishek, a very good morning to you. And well, we can see that the bilateral talks have begun between the prime ministers. And well, what all are we expecting today? We know that there will be trade talks. We know that there will be people-to-people exchange as well as regional cooperation that they're going to talk about. Could you take us up into the depths of these 3 and break them down a bit more for our viewers?
See, of course, India and Australia, they have been a good partner, good collaborator in multiple areas, including education and people-to-people exchange in the recent years. But in the recent years, there are other strategic and geopolitical situations also which have emerged and which calls for India also to find new partners and collaborators, and for Australia, same. So, I mean, Indo-Pacific is one of the area where both the countries will be engaging. They have engaged already under the format of Quad in Hiroshima a couple of days ago. And now, how to increase trade, how to ensure a rules-based order, that will be something that India and Australia would be keen to interact on. India has recently supported Australia on the issue of AUKUS because we know that China had raised the flag on Australia at International Atomic Energy Association, where it has said that Australia cannot get a submarine with nuclear fuel, and that will be a violation of proliferation treaty and everything. But India has supported Australia there, and India lobbied in support of Australia, where China's proposal to condemn Australia getting nuclear submarine from France, from US, was down. So clearly, there are a cooperation with India at multiple level, at diplomatic level, at people-to-people exchange. You have already talked about. So how can this area be more strengthened and new areas or new avenues of cooperation can be opened? It's something that the two prime ministers will be talking about. Also, we know that in the recent years, India have been trying to explore more, mobility options, like people want to go abroad for education, for employment.
Right.
And since India has, developed kind of infrastructure where the more people are getting skilled, they are getting well trained in professional sphere and semi-professional way. So probably that is also one of the area where Australia and we have seen other countries also very keen on having more Indians to employ in their own country in various sectors. So these are the areas where these two prime ministers will be having a conversation, how to increase those people mobility and areas of cooperation.
Right. Right, you've actually brought forth quite a couple of important points, and I think we can get into the depths of them individually, wherein I would like to begin with the Indo-Pacific region. Like, what expectations do we have? Because I remember we were when we had seen the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea speaking about Indo-Pacific as well as the Quad meetings that had happened in the G7, in the sidelines of the G7 in Hiroshima. We had seen talks about the Indo-Pacific cooperation and how to go about with that. In that particular context, What do you think is going what important pointers are we expecting to see from this particular bilateral meeting when it comes to the Indo-Pacific cooperation, and that the fact that China has been dominating there for the last couple of years now?
So clearly, I mean, India and Australia, they have agreed, and there is a deep understanding that there should be cooperation. There should be a common a consensus on how to deal with the growing influence of China in this area. We have seen Australia and China relationship already getting soured on the issue of trade because of the dominance that China is facing, increasingly being challenged by smaller countries. Australia and China, they are far across, but then in between there is a sea, and that is the maritime area where everybody wants to have a dominance because of the natural resources it has, because of the international trade that goes through this route. And also strategically, this area is important. We have just seen how Prime Minister Modi was engaging with several countries in Papua New Guinea. These countries fall into Indian Ocean, and they might be very small, but they have a huge strategic and geopolitical importance, because if a country has a base, a naval base in one of the smaller islands, it will dominate the whole trade route that goes around it. And Indo-Pacific, or for that matter, in Indian Ocean, is having almost 60 to 70% of global trade every year. So the country which dominates those routes will be actually dominating international overall trade. A growing country like India cannot afford to succumb to the pressure that China or any other country will put in terms of strategic or commercial interest in that area. So clearly, India and Australia have been engaging, and Australia getting nuclear submarine is one of the key concerns that China has expressed in the past. But for India's point of view, that is something that goes well, because other countries should also get their own security interests addressed. And if they feel threatened, or if they feel challenged by any bigger country like China, then they do have all the rights, all the to have all the necessary means to counter those challenges.
Right.
In that context, India has supported Australia getting nuclear submarine also in the recent time.
Right. Abhishek, please continue being with us, but we